the old saying is that LA is a great big freeway, and that's more than an old saying. That's just a hard and fast fact is what that is. I'm driving down to a guy's railroad in Anaheim. He's modeling the Disneyland Railroad as an outdoor railroad in his backyard. Who would have thought that anyone would do that? But how fun and interesting when you get right down to it. So he's recreating this whole little bits and pieces of Disneyland with the Disneyland Railroad, connecting the whole thing up, all of it out in his backyard. So that sounds pretty intriguing. We got to check that thing out.
For years, Dave Sheegog has been building a 1/20th scale replica of Disneyland, complete with the Disneyland Railroad, or should I say railroads, as he's also building the Casey Jones Railroad in his backyard. Dave's house and railroad is not all that far from Disneyland, and so it's, well, let's say convenient for him to do research. It's often difficult to say just what motivates someone to such a high plane of screwing around as to build a replica of Disneyland in their backyard. So let's just let Dave explain it to us.
Well, I have always enjoyed Disney films. I grew up in Garden Grove, right close to Disneyland, and worked there during my summers in college. And that doesn't mean you want to build something like this in your backyard. I wanted to build a railroad, and I knew that most people in this hobby will build them out of a railroad that they grew up with, or something that they known about, or something from their past. And I didn't have any railroads in my past other than Disneyland, so it seemed like a natural fit. And also, you could find the figures readily and easily in Disneyland, so I knew I would have an endless supply of little figures to populate my miniature railroad. On the Disney buildings, to model those, they are all fun buildings and very recognizable, so when people come like this, they recognize things as opposed to being just prototypical buildings from the 30s or 50s or 70s or anything like that. So it seemed like a natural theme that would pique a lot of people's interest. The art of miniature trees, the Japanese art of bonsai and miniaturization, that is a whole art to itself. There are only 3 or 4 true bonsai trees here, where I know the tree is 30 years old and it's only 5 or 6 inches tall. Most of the rest of here are shrubs that we can prune to look like trees. It does take some hunting to find ones that have good trunk patterns. The herb rosemary that's used in cooking all the time, that particular plant, if you pull off the leaves off the bottom and shave it up like little trunks, has an amazing resemblance to like a sagebrush and plants you would find out in the American West. And so you'll see a number of those over in Frontierland here.
Dave has models of several of the 5 locomotives that serve Disneyland, as well as both styles of coaches that are found on the railroad. He's also modeled all of the various theme areas found at Disneyland, with subtle little references to every single Disney animation ever made. Dave's modeling techniques have to be completely weatherproof, so much of his scenery is made out of different types of concrete products, and his structures are made out of various kinds of urethane and plastic foams. Dave also has this 1/20th scale model of Walt Disney's 1/8 scale train on the Carolwood Pacific Railroad. If you haven't seen the brilliant Toyman episode on the Carolwood Pacific Railroad, you should check that out.
Well, there you have it. The Disneyland Railroad is an outdoor backyard railroad. That's just really fun. I got a kick out of that. Not a lot of people would do that, but that's just really, really fun. There's a lot going on in outdoor garden railroads, and usually people are modeling the usual suspects, Colorado narrow gauge and that sort of thing. Almost everybody is sticking to narrow gauge for their outdoor railroads, but not everybody. But the Disneyland Railroad, that's really unique and different. One of the things he's done that I find really fun is that a lot of people who build a model railroad will create a railroad pass. Back in the 19th century, when people had railroads, they would have a railroad pass. and they could hand those out to VIPs and managers and so on, so that they could just show their pass and then get on to any train and go. And so if you build a model railroad, it's sort of fun to create a little railroad pass that you can give out to people at an open house that says you're welcome to ride the railroad whenever you want to and show your pass. It's just kind of a great little souvenir. And this railroad has done the exact same thing, and here's his rail pass. It's a D ticket, an old style Disneyland D ticket. Those of you of a certain age will perhaps remember that when you used to go to Disneyland, you get a little booklet of tickets, and those tickets would enable you to ride different rides, and the E-ticket ride was the great ride. That would be, you know, the Matterhorn or something like that. The D-ticket was a lot of the really good but not quite E-ticket rides, and that included the railroad, which was a D-ticket. So that's what he's giving out as a railroad pass, is a pretty accurate reproduction of a Disneyland D-ticket. I think that's pretty darn cool. Well, at any rate, I'm not quite sure how you found this movie on the internet. I hope you didn't find it boring. And do look for more movies on the Facebook link, or look for me on YouTube and subscribe to the channel there, or I'm also putting the movies on Vimeo, and share those links with your friends. Let's see how many people we can get watching these fun little things. And I'll see you here again in a week.